Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another build guide video. Today we're going to be looking at one of the 3 weapons from the new update of the Invaders of Oakveil. This is going to be, of course, the claws, and the artifact for the claws is the Talons of the Lich Beast. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan at first of the claws, but after using the Talons of the Lich Beast and just the claws in general, I've come across a pretty good build that I've found a lot of success with that I'd like to share with you guys. So let's have a look at the abilities of the Talons of the Lich Beast. So the claws are a powerful melee weapon that have combos of 3 attacks, the third of which inflicts puncture, and players can then trigger a rupture, dealing damage to the target and healing yourself. So rupturing the enemy, or as you can see, consuming puncture, and healing yourself is actually unique to the artifact. Using both lunge and skewering leap also has a chance to summon a skeletal warrior, which isn't as important as rupturing your enemy, but it's a nice little bonus that you get when landing your claw abilities. I find that an aggressive playstyle is the best use for the Talons of the Lich Beast, while incorporating the sustain that the blood magic tree gives you, along with rupturing your enemies, consuming your puncture. This aggressive playstyle allows you to do a lot of damage and also keep yourself healthy whilst out sustaining your enemies. So let's have a look at the spells we're going to be running with this build. For our Veil, we're going to be running the Veil of Storm. The reason for this, if you have a look at the jewel here, is the 1st and 4th spell modifications. Consuming static to stun the target, but ensure that you've got the 4th modification here. Dashing through an enemy inflicts static. So what this does is if you dash through your enemy, you're inflicting static on them, and then if you attack them, you're then stunning them, consuming the static. The reason you take the Veil of Storm over, for example, the Veil of Bones, is for that stun. It allows you to remain aggressive and unload your claws on your enemies. For our next spells, we're going to actually be looking at the blood magic tree. The first one being Blood Rage, the heal that it gives you, movement speed to stay on top of your enemies, the attack speed to get more puncture stacks are really good for this build and this playstyle. Now your defensive option is going to be Blood Right. The key reason we use this counter versus any other counter available for us is the immaterial state that you get when you get this counter triggered. Not only do you go invisible with a specific use of a dual modification here, but also gives you a heal and continues the strategy of sustain that we're going for with this build. And for our ultimate of choice, we're going to be looking at the Heart Strike. Pretty self-explanatory given the other spells that we're running. It's another gap closer. It's okay damage. The heal that you get once it pops really synergizes with the rest of the kit. So onto the passive abilities. We're going to be running the Blood Spray, Sanguine Mastery, Lightning Fast Strikes, which will go well with our Veil of Storm. And then for the final 2, we've got Dark Enchantment, Damage Reduction, and Bastion. Increased max health, which is going to synergize quite well with all of our sustain. The jewels we touched on a little bit earlier, but we'll go through them. The Veil of Storm, 1st and the 4th ability modifications here are the most important. For the Blood Rage, we're looking at the increased movement speed, duration, the damage, and the heal is also important. So all 4 of these spell modifications are important on Blood Rage if you can get all 4. And then for Blood Right, 4th modification here is the most important, turn invisible, and then the immaterial duration, the heal, and the first one is nice, but it's not as important as the last 3 modifications for Blood Right. Now let's have a look at our armor and amulet that we're going to be using for this build. We're going to be running the Dracula's Grim set. This is for the primary attack leech, added damage reduction, but also the full set 4th bonus, which is going to heal us for an additional max health, attack speed after using our dash. And the amulet of choice is going to be the Blade Master. Not only is the attack speed quite good, but the Lesser Storm Shield applies static that you can then use to stun them after you've dashed with your Veil of Storm, even if you don't dash through your opponent. The blood type we're going to be using is a mix between a primary warrior blood and secondary rogue blood. The recast you get from the weapon cooldown rate can really catch your enemies off guard. I'll showcase a little bit of that with some clips later on. But when you use your E ability, which is the Skewering Leap, if you get a recast on that, chances are you can just recast the leap exactly where they were after they have already been incapacitated. But not only that, the increased physical power from the tier 1 warrior blood, but also the infused rogue blood, increased crit chance, increased physical power, exposing victims' armor, increasing damage from all sources. This also goes well with our unholy magic condemn debuff we'll be throwing out. This I think is the best blood type to use for this build. For our weapon coding, we're going to be using the unholy coding. Inflicting condemn is the only important factor here. The bone spirit is okay in 1vx, but in 1v1s, not so much. You can also consider taking the illusion coding. The main use for this would be inflicting weaken. It gives you both debuffs of weaken and condemn. This is pretty interchangeable and up to you which you'd prefer. And for the buff, we're going to be using Elixir of the Werewolf, attack speed, weapon skill power. This is going to enhance our aggressive playstyle and give us a better chance of success using this buff. Okay, so now looking at the weapons we're going to be using. The claws you can use as a sole weapon. There's not a whole lot that combos well with it. However, what I find is of benefit to use and swap with will be the slashes and the pistols. Both for the iframe, but with the claws, you do need some sort of ranged weapon when all of your gap closing tools are down, or to force the enemy to come to you. Using the pistol primary attack as well is a good way to finish off the claw's E in cap. Once you've jumped away, you can then use your pistol primary attack as extra poke damage. And speaking of that poke damage and how the pistol interacts with the claws, let's have a look at some of the weapon combos and weapon swaps that we can do using these. Now, there isn't a whole lot, as mentioned before. Claws are a pretty clunky weapon to use weapon swaps with, but firstly let's have a look at how it interacts with the slashes. If you use your claw E, you do dash a little bit far away, further away that you can't attack, but not too far that you cannot slash as Q. And because the slash's Q is quite quick, this would actually be considered a true combo and is a good bit of poke that you can do, as well as the extra slow that the slash's Q does give you allows you to close the gap, close the distance, and get back onto your enemy. And that's going to look a little bit like this. And just again. And you can of course follow that up with a pistol primary attack. As I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of weapon swap combos that you can do with the claws. You can incorporate other things such as the greatsword. You can just do an E and then greatsword Q, for example, swap off to your pistol. But for the most part, the claws are a very one weapon focused playstyle that I think using the slashes and the pistols are your best bet when incorporating other weapon swaps. One other thing I wanted to show was just how you would stun and keep on your target using the Veil of Storm. Dash through them, attack, they're stunned, right? And the stun's only for like fucking 0.5 seconds, but allows you to get off a couple of primary attacks to get the puncture debuff on, which you can then follow up with a claw Q or E to rupture that puncture debuff. So just in summary, the Talons of the Lich Beast are a very aggressive, melee, sustain, and attack speed centric playstyle, where you're going to try and keep on top of your enemies, claw the shit out of them, whilst utilizing all your heals and sustain to keep topped up and healthy, and your mobility with your claw E, with your invis, immaterial, counter proc, your long dash from your ult, and deceptively mobile claw Q. I hope you guys give the claws a fair chance. I didn't at first. I was actually going to make the claw artifact build as my first of the 3 new weapons from the Invaders of Oakveil. I just scrapped it after like 30 minutes of trying to work it out, trying to play around with it. It didn't really click for me. Experimenting with some other spells outside of the unholy magic skill tree really pointed towards a aggressive and sustain heavy playstyle that unlocked the Talons of the Lich Beast potential, and hopefully will unlock success for you guys when using this build. If you enjoy this type of content, leave me a like, chuck me a comment as to what you'd like to see next. I've covered about 6 to 7 different artifact weapons at this point, all 3 of the new weapons from the Invaders of Oakveil. So if there's any weapon that you're curious about, let me know in the comments which one you'd like me to cover next. I'm going to showcase this build and just how effective it can be with a few PvP clips on V-Arena. Some of these clips are 1v1s, 1v2s, free-for-alls. This build really does great in all those instances, so I hope you enjoy. Cheers!